Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company at Watches and Wonders for 2026 here at Moser Cie. I'm here with Bertrand Meilland. Bertrand, thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure. Thank you for coming, Tim. Always a pleasure to have you here.
Your presence is larger than it's ever been. You've got a really cool new booth. It's big, it's expansive, it's heavily themed, and it's built around what everyone's talking about this year, which is the partnership with Reebok. When I first saw the Streamliner Pump, I thought, oh, well, that's kind of like a nice sideways nod. But when I realized you also get the shoe, I realized this is sanctioned by Reebok. This is a partnership. How did this happen?
So it started through discussion 2 years ago, even a bit more actually, almost 3 years ago, where our friend Romaric, you know Romaric from Second, who is a great friend of ours, and he was in discussion with people from on the other side that are passionate about watches, and they're like, oh, it would be so cool if we could do something between Reebok and Moser. To be very open, we were not 100% convinced at first. It took us a bit of time of brainstorming, like what can we do? And they were talking like, oh, we want to do something around the pump. And it resonates to my nostalgia. You know, I had a pump sneaker in 1992, I think, or 1991 that my mother offered, and I have great memory of this. So it started to be like there is something we can do. However, we're not going to just put a logo on a watch. It's not Moser, you know, we need to push it further. So linked to that, we decided to create new material for the case, to use a new movement, to create a new movement, to really have the feeling of the sneaker on the watch, with creating the pump to wind up your watch, and to have this new forged quartz fiber as a case that really, with this moiré, that give this texture that looks with a sneaker.
And it really is of an era. If you are of that era, and you know whether you are, it's going to be Pulp Fiction, A80 Supras, and shoes that either pump up or light up. You know that era, and you know if you're part of that. So you do get the shoe if you buy the watch, correct?
Yes, the white one go with the white
That's correct.
piece, and then you have a black shoe for the black one. It's limited to 250 pieces each.
For each piece?
Yes.
Now let's talk about this forged quartz, because this is not just a carbon fiber case. This is a different kind of material that is extraordinarily hard and extraordinarily scratch resistant. Yes. Talk a bit about kind of designing for this material, because it's not an easy thing to produce.
It's not an easy thing to produce, but also the beauty of it is that it gives us the opportunity to do different colors, because typically, originally, it come in more white, see-through sort of material, and then you put the color inside it to get it black or to get it white. So it opened many, many doors of being able to make a lot of different colors. There is also a titanium cage under it that protects for the water resistance as well. So it's a 12 atmosphere water resistance watch that, again, mean that you can go swim with it at any time, and it's a great watch and great material for that.
And that's almost always how it is when you've got these exotic fiber cases. The outer case is of the composite material, and then the inner case, which is hermetically sealed, contains the movement, it contains the mechanisms and the dial and the hands. So you still get the 120 meter water resistance that you'd get on a standard Streamliner. Yes. Approximately how many pushes, because this is a 3-day power reserve?
So 72, it's 1 hour per push.
Okay, so 1 hour per push. So yes, you'll have some fun pumping it up for a little bit.
With a little power reserve that you can see.
Exactly, with the orange swoosh.
And you can continue to push even if you get to 70, like mine is fully powered.
Oh, so you can't overwind it.
You cannot overwind it. So you can continue have a relation with your watch without breaking it.
I remember back in the day, there was always these rumors that if you pumped the shoe too many times, it would explode. It's a good thing they thought about that. Now, the one thing, though, you could deflate the shoe. You can't deflate the watch. Now, the nice thing about this movement is that it really does look like it was designed to be a manual wind. I think when you take an automatic and you convert it to manual winding, it almost always looks bald or barren or wrong. This, with the skeletonizations, the golden chaton style cups, this really looks like it was born that way.
But it's inspired, it's come from our HMC 500, which is our macro rotor movement that we strip from the macro rotor to add the manual winding on it through the pump. So it was, the idea was to give this manual look to it.
And that's key, because the micro rotor movement has bridges and plates that are designed to be seen. Whereas if you do have a winding bridge and a center rotor, you tend to lose a lot of detail once you remove those structures. Usually that's not a clean conversion. From the micro rotor, you've already got bridges and plates designed to be seen. Now the other thing about this watch is that it's not that big. It's 40 millimeters.
40 millimeter.
So this is a very universally sized watch, and it's got two different dials. One is going to be black, one is going to be white. Again, white on white, black on black. You can see these right here. Now these are lacquered dials, so I don't want people to confuse this. This isn't Vanta Black because it has applique indices. Vanta Black, you can't put indices on Vanta Black, so this is a beautiful lacquer with the ghosted Moser logo, and then you have applique with Global Light ceramic lume. Very cool piece, and this is really the headliner at Moser this year. Are they sold out yet? Because I heard you were working on it.
They got. We have good. We're optimistic they will be sold out. It's difficult to say after 2 days. Are they? It's very successful. We were expecting to be more polarizing.
Yeah.
You know, like Moser, we like to be polarized, and then people saying I love it or hate it. To my big surprise, it's been taken extremely positively. People understood that what we tried to do here and how we pushed. Not just putting a logo, or it's not a gimmicky watch. It's really, we want to try to recreate what you feel with a pump shoe on the watch, and I think it worked well.
No, I think there's no way this is not going to play to nostalgia, because if you are of that generation, and we are, you're looking at your older millennials and your Gen Xers. We still love our baby boomers, but we're now kind of the generation that's being marketed to in the watch segment. So trust me, if you recognize this shoe, this watch is for you. A very cool piece, and again, just show the camera real quick your white one. We've got, just to get a wrist shot of it, you can see it's not that big. Anyone can wear that. So if you're a lady who fancied those shoes back in the day, this is a very democratic case size. That's how I'll put it. Now, moving from that to something that is a little bit finer, and I'm not gonna say more upscale, but maybe a little bit more refined and formal. So here we have, in the Endeavour case, the Tourbillon skeleton. Now this is a very different look. We've seen this in sports watches before. Yes. I believe this is its debut in the Endeavour case.
Yes, we started it in January. We launched it in January. Very classic, elegant watch, which is different from the Streamliner version that we had. I think it really gives a unique look here on the Endeavour. Very easy, elegant watch to wear. Double hairspring tourbillon, keeping this symmetry on the dial that is very Moser, and this beautiful skeletonized movement.
And the little details matter, like the double hairspring.
Yeah.
So, a tourbillon in a wristwatch, it's probably not going to be the chronometric device it was when we had pocket watches that just sat vertical all day. But if you had a double hairspring and they're 180 degrees out of phase and they're physically identical, then the error is always going to be equal and opposite, and they instantly cancel out the effect of gravity. So that's a big part of the attraction of this tourbillon. It is a purposeful, functional tourbillon. Out back, it's also a purposeful and functional watch. You've actually got automatic winding here.
Yes, it's we try to always make that our watches are comfortable to wear, and typically going on the automatic as well for this movement was something important. But you can see how it's also fully skeletonized.
Yes, even on
really
the back.
See the beauty of the movement.
And you've got a tourbillon. It's a flying tourbillon, so
yes.
There's no bridge up here. And on the back, to better distribute the weight and the stresses of the carriage, you're using a widely spaced ceramic ball bearing.
You go into every details as Tim will.
I got a reputation I got to uphold. But it is a very elegant way of wearing a flying tourbillon. And I'll also say this, having it in the hand, it's also a very easy to read skeleton watch, and that's not always the case. Plus, I had it on my wrist, and I'm half Italian. I didn't see any hair, so you're clear on that front too. It's not that type of skeleton watch. Now, talking about something that's never been in the Endeavour case, I mean, we're talking about a new application of the tourbillon, but now we have the Endeavour, which is a minute repeater flying tourbillon, and it's a cylindrical tourbillon. So now we have, well, tell me a little bit about precision engineering and Moser hairsprings, because this is all in-house.
Yes, so Precision Engineering is a company that is a sister company of Moser, all under one roof. It's where we make our hairsprings for ourselves, but for over 30 other companies. We produce over around 250,000 hairsprings a year. We are known for making some of the highest quality hairsprings that you can find, and for a lot of the small independent brands, we make hairspring, but not only. We also work for some of the most established or big brands of the industry. We are only one of the handful companies that can produce hairsprings, something we're very proud of. and
the
really
escapement
showed
and
we
the
are
balance wheel as well.
Yeah.
The entire assortment. So that's important. There are a lot of manufacturers that can make bridges and plates, and a third-year watchmaking student can do that, at least at small scale. But creating assortment components that are highly engineered and need to be micrometrically precise, that's a very difficult thing. And there are some impressive manufacturers that don't make those parts. So Moser is a net supplier of escapements, balance wheels, and hairsprings. Now, this being a cylindrical hairspring, it's a lot like a marine chronometer.
Yes, that's what it's inspired by.
And so the idea is that because you've got a spiral, it's an even more centered mass than if it were a simple single overcoil. So you get the overcoil structures, but you also get this column of springs that means in almost any position, now we don't need the double hairspring for concentric breathing. And the watch has a titanium case, 40 millimeters. This is a 20-piece edition, I believe.
Yes.
And it has one of the most vocal and beautiful minute repeaters you've ever heard, partly because the case is almost entirely titanium and sapphire.
Yes, and we try to also really open it so it can resonate even better for the sound. Through the opening on the side of the case as well.
Yes.
And with a skeletonized, first time we do a skeletonized minute repeater. We started to do minute repeaters 8 years ago, and that's really the growth of improving ourselves through it to achieve this one that's the most complicated watch we ever made in Moser, and we're very proud of this launch, this three-dimensional way you can see it with the gong on the face of the watch to really see the beauty of it.
Now, what's also fascinating here is that despite the fact that we have a tourbillon, which is a very power-intensive refinement, we'll call it. Some people say it's a complication, I would agree, but it's a very power-intensive refinement. But we've still got a 90-hour power reserve in spite of the smaller case and the power-intensive escapement. So this is designed to be an everyday, well, I think it's even got a water-resistant rating.
It's a 3 atmosphere.
Which is incredible for a minute repeater because they're usually 0. So this is a watch that's actually designed to be worn. Now, a timepiece like this, it's a very small portion of your production, but I'm just kind of curious, since you have been doing minute repeaters now for 8 years, who is the minute repeater customer? Is this someone coming over from a Patek Philippe, from an FP Journe?
It can come, of course, they can come from there, but there is no rules on who are our owners on our minute repeaters. It's from every part of the world, quite surprising. This one has been hugely successful since we launched it only yesterday. So it's difficult. Today it's difficult to put on any of the watches. I'm sure you see it as well, how the range of customers or collectors that there is now in the watch industry is quite interesting. We would have a 30 years old that might buy to 60, and we had ladies buying our minute repeaters.
And anyone can wear this. This is a very compact watch. Like some of the earlier minute repeaters you built were larger.
We started with a 42. We started to reduce 3 years ago now. And to make it more wearable, easier to wear, which is something very important for us.
And a very dynamic watch. So if you want one of the best sounding minute repeaters, this is it right here. Look, there's a lot of watches that'll chime, but I've probably heard every minute repeater made over the last 10 years, either in person or on phone video from a friend. And I have to say, in terms of volume, this is definitely going to be the star of the show. A minute repeater that you can hear in a noisy room or a noisy show, this is that minute repeater. Okay, now let's talk about something a little bit different, because I know there's a lot of hesitancy from many brands to make a ceramic bracelet. But just this year, you've launched a Streamliner Tourbillon concept, black ceramic with bracelet. Tell me about the process of deciding you're going to go full bracelet, full ceramic, because it's not an easy fabrication.
No, it took, to be honest, it was something we wanted to do for many years. But to find the right supplier to do it was extremely complex. To do exactly the quality and the look that we wanted took years of in the making, of testing, of back and forth, of thinking we will be able to make it and not able. And so really took us, I think, 4 to 5 years to really find somebody capable of doing exactly in the finishing we wanted, in the style we wanted. And we're very, very happy with the result. I think it's look between the different finish of our bracelet that is quite particular, as you know, the polishing that's really stand out even more on the ceramic. And at the end, you have also the beautiful red enamel dial on it, hammered red enamel on it that stand with this black. Probably one of the I would say top 10 watch we designed in the recent years.
And it's a hammered style dial, correct?
It's hammer styled with this red fumé on
a
it.
very cool watch, because here's the problem. Like with the integrated bracelet genre, Royal Oaks, Laureato, Nautilus, you've got this incredible detail finishing. But the problem is, as soon as you do this across your desk, you know, you have to confront the consequences of living with a watch every day. All of those delicate details stick around and endure when it's on ceramic. It's a great solution, and it's the perfect solution to that sort of problem, but it's also very expensive and complicated to do, which is why you don't see it often.
Yeah. It's very because you need, and especially on the bracelets like ours, you need almost every part need to have an individual mold to create it. So it takes time, it's complex, you need a certain volume to be able to do it as well. So it's why it took us years to achieve it.
Is that watch a limited edition or just limited production?
Not limited edition, it's a limited production. The idea is to produce between 80 and 100 every year.
Okay, and so let's talk about the future of the brand now. We've sort of worked our way through. Women are a bigger and bigger portion of the collector community.
Yes.
This year you've got 2 smaller versions of the Streamliner, 28
yes.
and 34 millimeters. Is this a response to sort of an outcry or a request from the female collector community?
It's an idea, it's an objective as well that we have. First of all, they are not ladies' watches, but they are watches that can adapt to smaller wrist, and we believe will be both majority by ladies, because yes, our objective in midterm is to really develop ladies collector in our community. We believe that Moser really has a potential there, but for that we need to adapt to watches to smaller wrist as well, and that's where those 28 and 34 come from. There is huge potential to grow there, and it's just a start, but it's not something we want to rush. It's an objective within 4, 5, 6 years, but for that you needed first smaller movements. So we've developed not 1 but 2 new movements in order to be able to fit smaller watches.
The 60-hour 400 and 410.
Yes.
Okay, that's correct. So if you buy one of these new 28 or 34 millimeter watches, initially out of the gate you're going to get a frosted dial. They're frosted
yes.
dials. This is something Moser first debuted last year on the Streamliners, and they are going to be in steel initially, and then they're automatic winding with 60-hour power reserve, and they're still 120 meters.
120 meters, yes, of course.
So it's a smaller Streamliner, it's not a lesser Streamliner.
No, that was the objective from day one. What's beautiful about it is how delicate the bracelet look. In smaller size, we were, from day one when we saw the first prototypes, it looks amazing how it works on a smaller size. You never know when you design,
change the scale of something.
Changing the scale, is it going to work? And actually the delicacy of this thinner, smaller bracelet and case really, really worked.
Well, I understand that you are very busy, you don't have a lot of time, so I just want to close with a little bit of thought about where Moser is going. I know you've got a new manufacturer that's being built. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes, that's a big milestone. So in 2028, we will be celebrating the 200 years anniversary. That will be a huge milestone. We've been working, Edward has been working on a lot of projects around that. That for the last 3-4 years, we've been thinking about it. So expect big 2028, and one of the big happening will also be the new manufacturer that we are building, because at the moment we are at full capacity. More or less, I think we can get up to 4,500 with the existing manufacturer, and we are at 4,000 in 2025, so we cannot do much more. With the new manufacturer, it's double the size of what we have, and with the objective not to straight away grow the production, but it gives us the opportunity within the next 5-10 years to continue to grow the brand and to grow the capacity. And It's going to be an amazing manufacturer. It will be on the waterfall on the Rhine, and we're very excited about it.
So, for the future, Moser's solution to growth is to respond by pumping it up. Bertrand, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Tim.